Greetings, comrades, and hello, everyone. I'm Quint866. Got a new haircut. Kind of snazzy looking with the buzz cut, eh? Okay. Anyways, today's video is about the top 5 scariest Zelda moments I've ever experienced. The Zelda franchise has quite the dark and intimidating things in it. So I'm going to keep the rules for this one short, sweet, simple, and quick. No Jabu Jabu's belly. No Moon from Majora's Mask, and not even the Dead Hand monster, because I see everyone put that on their lists, and it's just freaking predictable. Also, there will not be any Blizzetta or Blizzera, Ice Temple boss from Twilight Princess, because I kind of didn't want really to appeal to that, because that one's a close second for sure, but I don't find it that scary. I don't mean to go on a rant here, guys, but I'm just tired of seeing Dead Hand Monster appear in every freaking list imaginable. It's boring, it's predictable, and it's not even good anymore. There's other things that scared me in Zelda. To further emphasize this, including everyone, and I mean everyone, which includes Watch Mojo, I have seen Dead Hand Monster appear more times than I can count. It's just pathetic to see something not be let go of, and just not be given a different place for something else for originality's sake. It ruins the surprise of the top 10. I'm going off track here, but the other rule I'm going to state other than no predictable entries is, oddly enough, I had to have personally experienced these. In some of my lists, I kind of, admittedly lied when I said I found some things scary. Forgive me, my fans, if I have any, but let's just keep this short and sweet. Without time to waste, let's haste. Wind Waker is a pretty innocent game at its core. It's a fan favorite for that matter for being one of the more simple as well as innocent Zelda titles. I personally didn't find it that great. I mean, even though yes, it did get an HD remaster, that is not to say it didn't scare me at times. Yeah, the innocent Toon Link Toon Zelda game scared me. And this is demonstrated by one honorable mention, the Forsaken Fortress. But that'd be a little too easy for this list. Instead, I'm going to say this. The bosses in Wind Waker were pretty easy. Most of them were pretty decent encounters, but what in the name of Aqua being bound, gagged, and tickled is that? Am I the only one who finds the sand snake thing kinda creepy? Emphasis is on kinda. Because I, for one, had trouble with none of the other bosses up until this one. And that is not a joke either. The boss's name is Mulgara. As I said before, it is my first true challenge I faced in the boss lineup of Wind Waker. Magma Beast Goma was a pushover. Bane of the Forest, Kale Demos was kind of tricky but obvious to defeat. I just had trouble aiming the boomerang and moving. Test of the Ancients, Gawdan, was fun and fair. The bird behemoth, Helmrock King, was disappointing because we had been kicked out of the Forsaken Fortress, and then when we finally get back there, we do get a cool and pretty neat chase sequence up the tower. But the boss fight itself was stupidly easy. We wreck Helmrock King. And the dark, draining Dreadnought Jahala is forgettable because I was just bored during the fight. And yeah, that is not a lie. Because his weakness is the lantern. Yeah, light is his weakness. Lame. Now, Mulgara, for some ungodly reason, was the hardest boss at the time. Yeah, there's a harder boss now, and that's Puppet Ganon for obvious reasons. But at the time, Mulgara would be the hardest boss for me personally. Why is that? Because I was just freaked out how the sand snake with a xenomorph-style mouth came after me, tried to eat me alive, chomping after me, while trying not to fall into a sand sinkhole with a Mulgara smack in the middle of it was pretty dang scary for a young mind in a Zelda game. Seriously, I hate how this thing has no eyes. I mean, now I can see the eyes, but as a kid on the GameCube, there was no way to tell this thing could see you. It just had spirals, I think. Like spirals that looked like a pattern of sorts. I don't even know anymore. It was also able to track Link's movement pretty well alongside its little mini Molgeras, or we'll just call them. But I eventually plowed through this boss, and it wasn't actually that hard now because, well, it's Molgera and not Puppet Ganon. Regardless, I still cringed every time I came back to this part as a kid. Yep, I was a wuss and I'll see myself out. However, Molgera makes it in this position for one reason alone. Yeah, I would have put Molgera up really high if there was one thing that didn't make this boss kinda lame in my eyes. The music. That's not a joke either. The music is not really fitting to the atmosphere. Molgera's theme is jolly, and it just doesn't fit the tense chase that this thing gives you as you try to linger around, fight it, and most importantly, kill it before it kills you. So yeah, the reason why Molgera is not high on this list is because of the music. Simply that. Nonetheless, Molgera comes in at number 5. Number 4 is Pyrus from Twilight Princess. I mean, just look at this guy. Seriously. Just look at him. Blind the Thief is at number 3. Now, I know what you're thinking. What? He's the weirdest and most easiest boss. Well, that is my reason. Yeah, his head's coming off and attacking you? That is dark as hell. Yeah, it's cartoony for the graphics, but it just scared me as a kid. What's worse? Oh, how about in a later boss rush in the Palace of Force Art on the Game Boy Advance, the version I had, he just kills Link's father, takes his form, talks to you, then attacks you. Yeah, that is dark as hell. And in the first fight, you just had to cut off all of his heads. Nothing too, I guess, special. But in this fight, for some reason, you have to not only cut off the heads, but then hit them back on. Weird. Wouldn't you think cutting off the heads would kill him and putting them back on would... Why would putting his heads back on kill him? Like, cutting off his heads, that I get, but putting them back on? How's that not healing him? Huh. Logic in this game might be a bit lacking in continuity. Okay, maybe not as scary as I thought, but still, it scared me enough. Okay, number 2. This is the only thing that actually scared me in Ocarina of Time. Yeah, that is the truth. Not the dead end monster, not Jabu Jabu's belly or whatever, but this forest temple. It's weird when I say it, guys, but this part is what actually got me stuck. There's only 2 things that actually gave me trouble in Ocarina of Time. One of them being Gerudo Valley, for obvious reasons. The other being the Forest Temple, which I'm talking about now. But the Forest Temple is the most tense place in Ocarina of Time. I was a little tense when Ganon first met Link outside Hyrule Town on his horse, demanding to know where Zelda went after she escaped. But it was still tolerable, at least, considering I got to be introduced to a really cool villain. However, I was pretty excited to go back to Kokiri Village after the Great Deku Tree being killed. Or dead, or whatever. However, the kids being grumpy, I was not looking forward to that as well. I was, at the very least, looking forward to seeing Saria, considering I just drew the Master Sword, had grown up, got a very, well, hunky-looking shield, so I could at least have some fun with her, right? So I go to the Lost Woods, and oddly enough, I hear the song playing, Saria's song. Not like, on the Ocarina, but just as part of the Woods theme. So I keep following the music eventually till I get to Saria's stump, where, shockingly, despite hearing the Ocarina play her song in the woods, she's absent. Yeah, she was gone, even though we could hear her just a couple seconds ago. She was not on the stump where we learned her song in the past. And the song stops as soon as you notice her absence, so she must have been there recently at the very least. But I was too curious, and that soon would be my downfall. Everything in the Forest Temple is pretty standard so far. You go through the dungeon, you fight some mini-bosses, get keys, and unlock more rooms. Nothing too bad. However, the boss, oh my god. I'm not even saying that the boss itself is scary, but the tension building up to the boss is what really got me. The music is another thing that really scared me. The music here is distorted and weird. It makes you feel like there's a predator, something formidable, stalking you, just out of your sight. And you feel uneasy while doing so. You feel uneasy going through this entire dungeon. Finally, you're just so tense. You're so ready for the predator to strike and end your life. But nothing happens. You only light the 4 torches and that is it. Anyways, that would be a little too intense for scare factor in a Zelda game at this time. I mean, yeah, a predator in the shadows would be pretty interesting, but nah, I admit people in Zelda would have probably had problems with that. At least parents would. But I do admit the music does paint that picture pretty well. Anyways, the Wall Masters are a decent mention because, well, you can't really see them coming too well, but once you get their pattern down, it's not that bad at all. But if you get hit by them, try not to scream, please. There are 3 mini-bosses, the first one being a Stalfos Skull. He's pretty easy. Second one being another Stalfos Skull. I wreck him because I already know the pattern of the first one. Third one is all these little fire ghost things that were lighting the torches. And I wreck them too. I don't know the name of the fire ghost things, but I think they're called Megas or something. I don't actually remember. Anyways. Oddly enough, I've been expecting the boss here to be something pretty intimidating. Maybe like a giant spider, even though we already had that in Admittedly Great Deku Tree. But I was thinking something maybe not like a spider, but more like a scorpion. Something big and gnarly and scary like that. So I finally get through this temple, and it took me quite a while too. I wasn't really stumped by the puzzles. I was just kind of scared, slowly trotting along, trying not to scream and wet my pants. I know, I was a wuss back then. Leave me alone. Anyways. Finally, after all that, the boss door is what my childhood said. Now the music really hits me, because I wasn't sure what was going to attack me. I was walking the arena thinking some big boss was going to show up. Oddly enough, nothing. So I go back to the entrance, and the gate closes behind me. I hear a grunt similar to that of a horse, and I turn around only to see none other than Ganon himself, lance in hand, smiling evilly, and eventually chuckling, seeing my shocked mug. Then, he gets ready to duel as his face morphs into the skeletal creature. And the battle begins! The battle begins by Ganon going into a painting. Of course, though, you can't hit him while he's in the painting, so you have to wait for him to come out and then shoot him with an arrow. Simple enough procedure for my childhood mind to understand, but executing that procedure? It was a little trickier than I expected. Mainly because Phantom Ganon will make a clone of himself come at you and fake you out, making you go in the wrong direction. Yeah, that attack or trick or whatever really got me as a kid. Because I couldn't tell which one it was going to be. The N64 draw distance was terrible. Eventually, after a third or fourth arrow, I finally got him off his stupid steed. This is where I got stuck. Because as a kid, I didn't know what to do here. This is as far as my brother got when I saw him playing it. And I had no idea what to do. And I couldn't just go up to my brother and wake him up because it's past my bedtime. So it turns out you have to knock back his electric orbs with your sword. I guess the Master Sword doesn't conduct electricity or something. Anyways, after doing that, and you may be wondering how I found out how I did this. I had a guide or a fact walkthrough in the house, basically a strategy guide. I finally win barely this fight with 2 hearts. Yeah, 2 hearts. I was pathetic, I know guys, but I was 6 at the time. Cut me some slack. After the war of attrition, I finally beat Ganon. Finally, this stupid boss could be done. as his body begins to disintegrate into flames, almost as if he wasn't the real Ganon. As I hear a voice echo from the shadows. Hey, you did pretty good, kid. You might have some slight skill after all. However, you have only defeated my phantom. A worthless creation. I shall banish it to the void. When you fight the real me, I will not be so forgiving. And yes, this is when it hit me. The Ganon before me was not really Ganon. It was only the Phantom Ganon. I guess I should have read the text before the boss. Anyways, I was scared this way because I didn't know what the real Ganon would actually do, considering I had so much trouble with this fight. Nonetheless, this was an awesome way for my childhood to get over an awesome fear, but most importantly, it was a fair fight. In retrospect, yeah, I had trouble with it, but as a kid, I kind of couldn't help but come back to this every now and then, unlike Mulgara, where I just want to replay it for the sake of nostalgia alone. Now for number 1. This one will probably be my most questionable choice. As I said, this was a scary moment from Zelda list. The other thing scared me in a way I wasn't quite looking for. Now you will see the true fear as he blows it out of your body, out of your mind and your soul. His storm will blow you into oblivion. This being the best Zelda villain ever, the Wind Mage, Vati. Okay, I know what you're thinking. What? How could this frickin' guy beat Ganon? Well, I don't disagree. Ganon does beat Vati in terms of a villain. But as a scary villain, I think Vati gets quite a lot of flack. Despite the fact that at the time, he was the most successful Zelda villain. He did what Calamity Ganon did before Calamity Ganon even existed. He took Hyrule Castle, made it dark, and had Zelda in captivity. That's literally what Calamity Ganon did, but in Minish Cap. And with no Calamity Ganon, instead we have Vati. And Vati himself is cool. And the battle is very amazing for a finale of a Zelda game. It does not disappoint. I will prefer the final Vati encounter over the final boss of Triforce Heroes, Malladus and Spirit Tracks, and Ganon and Wind Waker. Combined. For most of you, that's a bold claim, because everyone seems to love those bosses, minus the first one. And I don't blame you, but either way, guys, I had so much fun with this guy. He's an amazing fight. Why? 1. The difficulty is fair. 2. The music is great. 3. He has 3 phases, unlike Ganon and Ocarina of Time. Let's see you argue against that, because the developers gave him more attention. I want to see Ocarina of Time fanbase argue against that, instead of just saying it's the best game because it was the first 3D Zelda game. Yeah, go ahead and chew on that. 3. The battle theme is different for every phase, as it should be. 5. The fucking music again! It is no surprise I love this guy. Vati Reborn the first phase is a great first final boss. You first must destroy his eye drones, I'll just call him that, in order to open up the eye in his cloak, which is actually, the weak spot, obviously. You fight him, and you hit him a bunch, and you eventually plow through it. Also, the music during this fight is amazing. And his attacks are pretty varied too. He has fire, he has laser, he has dark orbs. Pretty cool stuff. Vati Reborn will go down after quite a few sword slashes. Yeah, that's the canon name of the first phase, Vati Reborn. He commends you for your bravery and your strength, but then he's like, "You will not survive me. I have infinite power. The most potential of strength," or whatever. He then transforms into Vati Transfigured. Huh, that's a weird name. He becomes a giant eye instead of a dark angel. I mean, not as cool, but it's still good enough. Anyways, this fight revolves around you shooting arrows at his eye shields that surround him. He has 3 attacks. One of them being his purple porcupine projectiles. Try saying that 5 times fast. Anyways, you have to shoot the right eye shields in order to make them open up. Then you have to clone with your Force Sword and then hits them, as you can break down his shield and get to the big eye surrounded by all the eye shields. Then you can wail on Veti and ruin his day. Finally, his other attacks are the electric orb attack. Not too bad. And then you have the rock attack, which absolutely ruins people trying not to do this without taking any damage. Yeah, people who try not to take damage during this fight will most likely be hit by that stupid rock attack. The electric orb attack is really slow, so you shouldn't have too much problems with that. Anyways, the fight itself is very repetitive, but it's difficult, and it keeps me awake, unlike the first phase where I know what to do already. This fight can go on for quite a while, too. It's pretty dang tricky now that I think about it, because I wanted to do this without taking any damage, and every time I did take damage, I had to kill myself in-game. Not a very smart idea, young me. Anyways, the fight is pretty fun. I love the sprite animations Veti has. It looks like they really put some effort into this. Eventually, after cloning yourself enough times and hitting the big eye, getting rid of the shields, and then hitting the big eye again, you'll eventually plow through Veti. Veti transfigured is all like, "What? No! How is this possible? What is this madness? I have the power of a god! I have unstoppable might, blah blah blah." And I'm all like, "Dude, your big red eye is just a pain beacon in a weak spot." He blows up, and we finally rescue Zelda from her stone body, or we get her unturned from stone or whatever. Now I must escape the crumbling Hyrule Castle. But wait! Veti has one last trick up his sleeve. Veti decides that he will hold us off until the castle crumbles or he defeats us himself. And we go into one last phase against Veti's Wrath. And it looks pretty cool, I gotta be honest. I love the arms. But I gotta be honest, guys, this is easily my least favorite part of the fight. Sure, the finale is pretty good, and the ending is pretty decent, but the music is good too. But the overall fight, or at least this phase of the fight, is just too easy if you ask me. I mean, yeah, the other phases were easy, but at least they had some things to catch you off guard. Here, you just kill both arms by going inside destroying these crab sun eye things, coming out of your shrinking form, which is the main gimmick of Minish Cap, I must add, and then going back and doing that for the other arm. Veti has a lot of attacks this time around, but he doesn't really use them that much, which I found kind of sad, considering that I wanted to see him be more aggressive than at least the second phase, which just kind of flew around all over the place. Yep, okay, I'll just get back to the fight. I'm sorry, I'm going off track here. Anyways, you fight the other arm, crab head something, and destroy that too. Except it's dark this time, which is at least kind of interesting. You get out of that, and then you're thinking, yay, I destroyed his arms, but you still have to destroy the big eye again. I do think destroying the arms is okay, but this part is just you cloning, waiting, and hitting. Over and over and again. And then he dies. So those are things that actually scared me in Legend of Zelda. I know it's not quite what everyone wants to hear, but I don't make reviews, guys, to appeal to the fan base. I make reviews on my personal, honest experience. Anyways, I'm Quint866. Have a good one.